Do you know an alcoholic or an illegal drug addict? Chances are good that you do. Chances are also good that you work with one. Drug and alcohol abusers come from all economic and cultural backgrounds. They can be uneducated, educated, blue or white collar. Drug and alcohol abusers are addicted to substances that have taken control of their lives and limited their ability to function positively in society. It's no secret that the abuse of and addiction to drugs and alcohol is tearing at the fabric of our society. Families fall apart, individual lives are ruined, and innocent victims are hurt or even killed. But what is not so well known is that the abuse of both drugs and alcohol is taking a costly toll in America's workplaces. Surprisingly, the majority of alcoholics and illegal drug users have jobs and bring their addictions into the workplace. Stopping drug and alcohol abuse in the workplace reduces costs and increases productivity. Another important reason to combat substance abuse is to protect the health and safety of workers like you and the public. And finally, employers must comply with federal, state, or local regulations. This video is designed to help you recognize the signs of illegal drug and alcohol abuse in the workplace. We'll teach you about alcohol, the 5 types of drugs to look for, some additional drugs for which use is on the rise, and how to detect drug use. There are 4 basic ways to spot both alcohol and illegal drug use: by observing physical appearance, speech, behavior, and job performance. Keep in mind that some of the indicators for alcohol abuse may be similar to the indicators for illegal drug abuse. Likewise, the indicators of different drugs may be similar. Let's take a look at recognizing alcohol abuse. Alcoholism is by far the #1 abuse problem facing American businesses, accounting for nearly 90% of the costs associated with substance abuse. Worse yet, alcohol abuse and alcoholism have been linked to 40% of industrial fatalities and 47% of industrial injuries. Alcohol is a depressant that initially reduces tension and lessens inhibitions. It also impairs judgment, distorts speech and vision, decreases motor coordination, and slows reaction time for several hours. Alcohol is usually ingested and spreads quickly to the brain and vital organs. Alcohol can be addictive and can have long-term effects such as brain and kidney problems. One way to detect evidence of alcohol abuse is a hangover. A person with a hangover usually has a headache, bloodshot eyes, a dry mouth, and sometimes loss of feeling in the fingers.
The heavy drinker that comes to work and still has the alcohol in the blood, that person is much more impaired. They may still have 2 to 3 drinks in their body when they come to work. And the hangover is only a symptom of the problem, and the hangover is only one of the signs that you're going to see of the person who's been drinking a little bit too heavily.
Besides bloodshot eyes, some of the physical appearance indicators are blurred vision, disheveled appearance and poor personal hygiene, unsteadiness and lack of balance, slurred or unintelligible speech, excessive sweating, reddened or flushed complexion, and the smell of alcohol. But the smell of alcohol which lingers in a person's mouth after they've been drinking alcohol can also be misleading.
Smelling alcohol is really a mistake. You don't smell alcohol, you smell the beverage. We've got some nice non-alcoholic drinks out here today that smell like your beers. So smelling the brew is only one of the indicators. You need to see the bloodshot eyes, you need to see the slurred speech. Watch the work performance, look for work indicators. How is the job being affected?
There are behavior and job performance indicators that should be observed among suspected employees. Conflicts in relationships with coworkers, dramatic emotions, defiance, lack of inhibition, forgetfulness, and a lack of good judgment, low or minimal productivity, sloppy, careless, or incomplete performance of tasks, consistently late, excessively absent. You need to keep in mind that any one of these indicators is not enough to warrant testing. You need to observe several changes in a suspected employee. Let's take a look at a scenario which illustrates how alcohol can impact the workplace. Your coworker often complains of a hangover and attributes them to happy hours, parties, and generally having fun on her own time. But lately you've noticed her eyes are red and her speech is sometimes slurred. Forget the hangover. You're now wondering if she comes to work still drunk. You've found yourself covering for her on the job more and more. When supervisors ask where she is, you make excuses for her. You've even started taking on some of her workload so she doesn't get into trouble. But you're beginning to wonder if you're doing the right thing. And the situation is now affecting your work performance. Then one day, you notice her almost lose her balance, and later discover her sleeping on a small couch in an area that is rarely used. What should you do now? In this situation, you should report what you've seen and heard to the appropriate person. Whether that person is your supervisor or the suspected abuser's supervisor, report the following information. When did you first notice some of the indicators of a possible alcohol abuse problem? What specific indicators have you observed? Where? What time of day? How frequently are you seeing any or all of these indicators? Has the employee's job performance changed? Finally, have you heard of any other coworkers complaining about this employee? Try to avoid relying on hearsay. What a coworker says about a suspected employee should only help you understand the overall picture of how the suspected employee's job performance has been affected. You need to observe and document what the changes are yourself. There are 5 categories of drugs which are commonly abused and tested for. Marijuana, which is dried chopped leaves, green to light tan in color. Cocaine, an organic-based alkaloid which is usually in a white powder form or crystalline rock about the size of a pebble. Opiates, which come in powder, pill, or liquid form, ranging from dark brown chunks to white crystals or powders. Amphetamines, which are yellowish crystals in pure form and exist as a pill, powder, or liquid. And phencyclidine, or PCP, which is either brown or white powder, sold in capsule, tablet, or liquid form. Marijuana is probably the most commonly used of all illicit drugs. It distorts visual perception and gives a sense of altered reality. While the most obvious effects are felt from 4 to 6 hours, impaired performance may last longer. Marijuana can be detected in the urine for a week, sometimes longer for chronic users. Cocaine is a highly addictive stimulant and may cause one to be inattentive and take unnecessary risks. Effects of a single dose last 1 to 2 hours. The drug may be detected up to 2 to 3 days after use. Opiates include naturally derived drugs such as opium, morphine, codeine, and heroin, which cause depression, fatigue, and slowed reflexes. Effects of a single dose last 3 to 6 hours and may be detected up to 2 days later. Amphetamines are stimulants, speed or uppers. Amphetamines effects last 2 to 4 hours, and the drug can be detected 1 to 2 days after use. Phencyclidine, or PCP, can cause hallucinations and sudden personality changes. The effect of one dose can last days, and the drug can be detected up to 8 days after it is taken. The Department of Health and Human Services has proposed to include additional drugs to test for in the workplace, such as MDMA, or ecstasy, as it is more commonly known. Ecstasy has stimulant and hallucinogenic qualities. Signs of ecstasy use are similar to those of cocaine and regular amphetamines. Ecstasy is one of several drugs under the well-known category entitled club drugs. Many club drugs are colorless, tasteless, and odorless, and can be secretly added to beverages. GHB, also known as a club drug and commonly called Liquid X, was originally available in health food stores and is known for its euphoric effect. It can be in a clear liquid form or in a white powder form. GHB causes intoxication and increased energy, yet may also result in a loss of coordination, concentration difficulties, headaches, vomiting, and respiratory problems. Large doses may result in more severe effects. Another drug on the rise is ice, also known as meth, crystal, crank, and methamphetamines. Ice is a temporary mood elevator and results in increased mental alertness. It is extremely addictive and can cause convulsions, heart irregularities, coma, and even death. Common signs include jitteriness, anxiety, and paranoia. Some prescription drugs cause symptoms that are similar to various illegal drugs. Keep in mind, while prescription drugs may be legal, employees may be abusing them. Using these drugs results in a variety of changes in an employee's physical appearance. For example, dilated pupils are usually evident in people using amphetamines, cocaine, and PCP. But with opiate users, you'll most likely see constricted pupils. Sweating is characteristic of users of all these drugs except marijuana. Drowsiness and fatigue is associated with marijuana, opiates, and PCP. But a false sense of alertness is evident in cocaine and amphetamine users. Some physical appearance signs can only indicate the use of a specific drug. For example, an irritated cough, reddened eyes, and a stained fingertip are usually indicative of marijuana use. And a runny, irritated nose could only indicate cocaine use. Other physical appearance indicators include dizziness, usually amphetamines or PCP, decreased appetite, amphetamines or opiates, nausea or vomiting, usually opiates. Speech patterns are often good indicators of drug use. Marijuana and opiates usually result in a slow or slurred speech, while amphetamine users and cocaine users are very talkative and have fast speech. The use of amphetamines and cocaine usually results in wide mood swings, where the person is initially alert, confident, talkative, and probably very effective at work. But as time goes by, lapses in attention may occur, as well as restlessness, panic, and even hallucinations and paranoia. Marijuana often results in delayed decision-making and slowed reaction time. While some indicators are specific for certain drugs and others are indicative for more than one drug, it's important that you are able to recognize any changes you see in a given employee's behavior. However, it is extremely important to remember that all of the indicators for alcohol and drug use can also be caused by other emotional or physical conditions, like physical illness, stress, fatigue, difficult personal circumstances, and even some prescription drugs. It is likely that once an employee starts to use illegal drugs, he or she will depart from normal behavior in ways that appear sudden and dramatic. For example, the normally outgoing and good-natured supervisor may suddenly become withdrawn and cranky. The quiet, reserved line worker is suddenly bubbly and overly talkative. Energetic employees become lethargic, while slower employees are suddenly transformed into the most productive employees in the workplace. Diana is frequently away from her workstation, but that's part of her busy job. However, your concerns about Diana are growing because it seems like she argues with everyone over nothing at all, especially as the week wears on. By Wednesday or Thursday, she is consistently irritable, short-tempered, and defensive.
Oh, Deanna, how you doing?
What do you want, Steve? Can't you see that I'm busy?
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to say hello. Why are you wearing sunglasses? Oh, here comes Jay. He's been looking for you.
Diana, there you are. You're hard to catch. Where have you been the last half hour?
Why do you ask me where I've been? Well, what's the matter? Don't you trust me? You know, everyone is so concerned with what I'm doing. Does everybody want to know what you're doing every minute of the day? Well, what am I supposed to do? Stay chained to my desk or something? Here, just look at all the work I've been doing. You want to search my purse or something?
Jay is Diana's supervisor and knows better than to spontaneously search her purse. But he has already suspected that her frequent absences on the job and the signs of burnout as the week wears on, such as irritability and paranoia, all may be pointing to the illegal abuse of amphetamines. Jay has also been tracking Diana's job performance. In spite of her claims, Jay already knows that Diana is not, in fact, getting much work done lately. It's time for Jay to report to his supervisors what he's been observing with Diana's behavior, physical appearance, and job performance. The organization may now want to take the next step toward determining if Diana has a substance abuse problem. In the scenarios we've shown you, did you notice the observers acting in denial or enabling the suspected substance abuser? When you make excuses in your mind as to why an employee acts a certain way, you're often in denial that they would ever have a problem. Likewise, enablers let a substance abuser continue the abuse by making excuses or allowing consistent patterns of absence to go unchecked. An enabler may relieve someone with a problem from the normal workload or reassign him or her to a less stressful position. Other characteristics of an enabler include doing the work or covering up mistakes of a substance abuser, and sometimes even joining in and encouraging the abuse. Enablers are even known to lie about the prolonged absence of an employee. While people in denial think the behavior will go away, and enablers think they are helping, neither situation is correct. Reasonable suspicion drug testing should only be pursued after the substance abuse behaviors have been documented by one or more supervisors who have been trained in substance abuse. The suspected employee should be observed closely over a reasonable period of time, but that period varies depending on the addiction that's evidenced.
A person who's using controlled substance, the observation is often over a long period of time. The individual who's using alcohol, it needs to be a short observation period when you're watching that person for reasonable suspicion testing.
For suspicion of alcohol use, be sure you observe and document the specific actions of the employee just before, during, or just after performing some safety-sensitive function. Once you observe the signs associated with drug or alcohol abuse, it's time to have him or her tested. A substance abuse program manager may be the person to contact for testing. Just make sure you follow your organization's policy on how to proceed with referring this employee and having him or her tested. The abuse of illegal drugs and alcohol does not have to take a costly toll in your workplace. In this program, we've given you the tools to recognize drug and alcohol abuse in the workplace. Your team needs to be united and committed to having a drug-free workplace. Help the abusers by recognizing the behavior and reporting it to the appropriate person. Not only do you help the abusers, but you protect the health and safety of the rest of your employees.
The long-term effect is that you have a more productive company, your health costs go down, your litigation goes down, you have a higher morale within the company.